Hello, I'm Reed Graff, the student coach for Team 17682 TimberX, and today we're going to be talking about while loops, continuing our series on software engineering and how to apply it with FTC. So while loops are very important for coding, and they use booleans, which we talked about in the previous videos. And what they're important for is just doing iterative functions. So sometimes you don't want to say print temporing like 10,000 times. Instead, you just wanted to do it continuously. An example of how we do that is right here. And once again, the code is in the top right on that code link, and the presentation is in the description. But as you can see right here, ignoring the top two lines, the bottom two lines, we see while, and then in parentheses, true. And then we have the curly bracket and the closing curly bracket. Within that, we have temporing. Our assistant got out printout and temporing. What this will do is I will read this and continually do what's within those curly brackets infinitely until we tell the program to stop. So you can see right here, it's going to print temporing infinitely. And of course, we don't have an infinite amount of space, but as you can see, it prints temporing a lot of times. But while loops allow us to repeat processes in Java, along with a few other loops that we'll talk about in the next few slides. But Java understands the code as while blank, and true or false. Do whatever was in the following curly brackets, which you can see right here. So how about while and then until an integer is equal to 0? So this is something that's really common in Java, or it's with any programming job or any project you set yourself up with. So in this case, we're going to define, we're going to import the scanner, and then we're going to define scanner as keyboard. And then we're going to define the variable name EMT as an integer, and we're going to set it equal to 0. So we're going to say while EMT is equal to 0, and then we're going to find EMT equal to the next lines, whatever the keyboard enters. And then we're going to say print EMT. So effectively, we can print 0 a bunch of times, and then once we print 1, then it's going to print 1 and then stop the while loop. So you see, it's not an infinite amount of times until EMT is not equal to 0. So this is effectively looping with parameters. Parameters being, in this case, EMT is equal to 0. Whereas in the past slide, we just had false, or true, rather. So how about an incremental while loop? So this is another thing that's very common. So in this case, we have number is equal to 0. And we say while number is less than 5. And then we're going to print temporing. And then we're going to say number plus plus. So number plus plus is the same as saying plus equal to 1. Or effectively, we're just adding one number, or adding a value of 1 to whatever number is. So the first time we run through this, it's going to print temporing. Well, the first time we run through this, we're going to find number is less than 5. So that's true. So that means we're going to print temporing. And then on the next line, we're going to add 1 to number. So the second time we go through this while loop, number is equal to a value of 1, which is still less than 5. And then we're going to print temporing and then add 1. So as you can see, because we're setting it less than 5, it's going to print this 5 times. And then it's going to print the value at the end. So as you can see, the number started as a value of 1. And then as we went through, it added until it got to 5. And then it printed out the number 5. So and then here's another one. So same as the last one with a different increment. So instead of saying plus 1, we're saying plus 9. So in this case, plus equals 9. So as you can see, temporing and then 9, because as you can see, the first time it has a value of 0, right? Less than 5, which is true. So because it's true, it's going to do whatever's within the curly brackets. So it's going to say print temporing. And then we're going to add 9 to number. So now number is going to be equal to 9. So as we go back through it, it's going to go back to the query. So 9 is less than 5, which is false. So it's going to skip that and then just go straight to the next line, which is print number. In this case, it would be 9. So it's going to say temporing 9. Once again, the code is at that code link. So how about a quiz? So make code that iterates through the numbers 0 through 10 and then prints them out. And there's the solution, but I can go ahead and go back to this. So it's very similar to what we've just done. Effectively, all we're going to do is instead of print temporing, we're just going to print number. And then it's going to print 0 all the way through 10, as long as you change it less than 10, or less than or equal to 10, depending on how you position it. All right, so how about the next quiz? So, or test actually. So make code that inputs a string from user and then prints good job if the string is over 5 characters long and has the letter A as its first character, and then else try again. So once again, this is referencing one of the earlier videos we made on strings and different methods for strings, which is a reference data type. So I'd recommend going back to that and referencing that. And then with that, you're able to complete this. So we're going to be doing a very similar thing using while loops. And then you're also going to use the string functions in order to complete this test. All right, so how about make code that iterates through the numbers 0 through 10 and then prints them out, or prints out true if they're divisible by 3 evenly. And then also, reminder to use the modular division, because we've also already talked about all the different mathematical functions that are native to Java. So there's the plus, there's subtraction, there's multiplication, division, but there's also modular division. And what modular division is if you divide something, it's going to print not how many times it can be divided, but the remainder after dividing. So for example, 3, if 9 and then modular division 3, it's going to print 0 because there's a remainder of 0. But if it's 10 modular division 3, it's going to print a remainder of 1. So use that to find out what can be divisible by 3 evenly, and then iterate through these numbers and print true if they are divisible by 3. So how about a for loop? So this is what we're going to talk about in the next 2 slides. In the next, actually, let's see. Yeah, this is what we're going to talk about in the next video. Thank you. This is TimberX Team 17682.